Hi, welcome to LSAT Freedom. In this video, we're going to talk about 10 LSAT test-taking tips and strategies. Now, although the LSAT may not be around the corner, when you begin studying, that is the time to begin harnessing your test day approach. And the tips and strategies in this video will help you do that. When you take practice exams and work with drill questions, you should apply these tips and strategies, and that will help you fine-tune your test day approach. So let's start with tip number 1. Understand the directions. One key feature of the LSAT is that it tests you on how well you follow difficult and often strange directions. Every word counts and has a purpose, and the structure of the words also has significance. So for example, on the reading comprehension section, you may come across directions that say that you should answer a question based on information as it is either stated in the passage or implied in the passage. And so what that means is you can answer the question based on information you can actually find in the passage. In other words, you match up an answer choice that contains certain information with a specific section of the passage that contains similar information. Or you can answer a question by drawing an inference based on information you reviewed in the passage. So what this does is that it provides a framework within which you can operate. It helps you understand how you can answer questions. So it's very important for you to read the directions carefully and to pay very close attention to what you are reading. Tip number 2, concentrate right away. Once the test begins, you need to concentrate immediately. And by that we mean you need to focus, and your focus has to be uniquely intense and as intense as it's ever been. All of the tips and strategies in this video go out the window if your concentration is off even a little bit. The 3.5 hours you put into this exam will largely determine which law school you go to. There's no time to be passive when reading a question. You need to dive right into this exam and focus all of your energy on it. Tip number 3, do not skim or speed read anything. Now, this is one of the most important LSAT test taking tips for any section. You need to read carefully and resist the urge to skim or speed read anything, because you may think that you may not have enough time to finish the test. Don't do it. Read carefully and remember that every word and every sentence has a purpose. Tip number 4, do not assume anything about a problem or question. Everything you need to answer a question will be on the page or pages in front of you. Use only the information that the question provides. In addition, do not omit anything or assume some part of a question is not important. It very well may be irrelevant, but do not dismiss it without first evaluating its relevance to the answer choices. Tip number 5, do not use your own knowledge, experience, or opinions to answer questions. Now, this is a common trap for students, particularly on the reading comprehension section, and the LSAT just preys on this. Resist that urge. Remember that the LSAT is not testing your memory or your knowledge. Rather, it's testing your understanding of logical principles. Again, everything you need to answer the questions will be on the pages in front of you. Tip number 6. If you want to, you can skip around and answer easier questions and bypass the harder questions. So for example, if you're on question number 3 and you think it's a little bit hard, it's not a question that you're very good at, you can skip ahead to question 6 and answer that one, or skip ahead to question 8 and answer that one if you think that those questions are easier. But remember to go back and answer the questions that you skipped. I mean, this strategy will help you maximize your score, but don't forget to go back and answer the ones that you skipped. Tip number 7. Be careful with an answer that is close to being correct, but isn't quite the right answer. Never lose sight of this, because this is very common. It's one of the more important tips. There will almost always be an answer choice like that, and only the subtlest of differences will distinguish it from the correct answer choice. So attention to detail here is paramount. It is critical that you pay the utmost attention to the smallest differences between the answer choices. Tip number 8. Keep track of time, but don't go crazy. You might feel like you have to rush through the exam, but you should resist that tendency. It's more important that you answer questions correctly than speed through and attempt to answer questions correctly. Remember that a lot of people that will not finish this exam, and your score depends on the number of questions you answered correctly, not how many you were able to answer in a specific time frame. Focus on answering as many questions correctly as possible. If you need to leave a handful to guess at later on, then do that. But focus on answering questions correctly first, not on volume. Tip number 9. If you have to guess, just pick one and move on. Don't hesitate, and you need to resist the urge to find a pattern in the answers. There isn't any. Don't waste time wondering which answer to choose. You've probably used up a good amount of time already to find yourself and find yourself in this situation and get stuck. It's probably time that you cut your losses. So just pick an answer choice and move on to the next question. Our 10th and final tip: make sure you fill in the right bubble on your answer sheet. Now, you may think that this is something that would never happen to you, but you need to be very careful, because this does happen. Make sure you do not skip over any bubbles on the answer sheet. If you're answering question 14, make sure you fill in the bubble that corresponds to question 14. Don't ever think that this can't happen to you, because it will. And silly mistakes like this will cost you. So pay very close attention to your answer sheet when you're answering the questions. So that concludes our video on LSAT test taking tips and strategies. Thank you for watching this video.